Welcome. You're watching the Moody Lawyer. Justice served with experience and integrity.
Hello and welcome to the Moody Lawyer with attorney Josh Moody. With a rich background in law enforcement and a comprehensive legal career spanning criminal justice, personal injury, and civil matters, Josh offers a unique perspective on navigating the complexities of the legal system. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Injury Missteps: Why Getting Legal Help Early Matters. Josh, welcome back.
Hey, good to be back.
So what common misconception do you find people have when it comes to personal injury cases?
Probably the biggest one, and if you can probably go back into the archives and view our previous podcasts, I think the biggest one is people think time is on your side and they want to just take their time before they come in and before they start handling things. But really, your case starts the second the accident happens, so the crash happens. And the sooner you get in and start finding ways to preserve your evidence, the better your case is going to be 2, 3, 4 years from now.
Why do you think people wait so long? I mean, obviously, if they're hurt, that's different. But why do they wait so long to reach out?
A lot of times people, there's a big misconception. I think there's several reasons, but I'll say the biggest reason is probably people think that the other side injured me, the other side caused it, the other side has insurance, they're going to make it right. They're going to take care of it because that's the right thing to do. And while the insurance company does have a duty to negotiate in good faith, that doesn't mean they have the duty to be rollovers, roll over either. So the insurance company is a business and they're going to try to get out of it as cheap as possible. So when they think that they're going to handle something on their own, they think that they're going to get the maximum amount of money they can because that's the right thing to do. So I'd say that's probably the number one reason why people do wait. And they come in and sometimes it's 3-4 weeks later. And, I ask them, well, what have you done? Where's this evidence? Where's that evidence? And they say, well, they didn't do it. They didn't take a picture. They didn't get this. They didn't do that. And because they thought they were just going to get paid out. And when they finally hear the initial settlement offer, it's just not that much. So that would probably be the number one reason. And the number two reason probably is I got hit. I wasn't injured. And then, a few days later,
right, starting
not to feel right, or I got my car checked out and it needs to be totaled, so that's probably like a second reason. But the first one probably is, I think, people are ever the optimist and they think that the other side's just going to do what's right. And that's very rarely the case.
Unfortunately. Yeah. So what can happen if you wait too long to hire a lawyer in a personal injury claim?
Well, it depends. In a car accident or maybe even a slip and fall, the biggest thing is preservation of the scene, documentation of evidence. If, you don't take a picture. I've had this happen a couple of times too, where it just, even on a very simple rear end, the police come out, maybe they take a report, but they didn't take any pictures. And now I have to go and send somebody out 3 weeks later. And sometimes in 3 weeks, a lot of times, especially up here in the desert, summertime, sun beating down, rain sometimes, flash floods, those tire marks are gone. I tell people like, hey, your evidence is there. Same thing on a slip and fall. Whatever you slipped on, whether it be water or some type of product, they're going to clean it up right away.
Yeah, it's not going to be there. Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be there. So that's a big thing. And then the second big thing is just your medical records and documenting and showing how you were injured and showing the treatment you were getting to alleviate that injury. You might be in all the pain in the world, but if you don't have any type of documentation to back that up, your case went from up here to, taking the nosedive every day that you wait.
Do you kind of subscribe to the idea that you should just go seek medical treatment immediately after an injury? Like, even if you think you might be okay, you're a little bruised up or you feel a little sore, but you think you're okay. Do you advise people to do it?
Absolutely. Because you just don't know. You don't know what is going to happen in the next couple of days, number one. Number two, the biggest thing is this is the day of the accident. So this is now this is where the starting point is. This is our needle. Look, I was a healthy person here. I got x-rays on this day. And look, it got progressively worse, right? Days and weeks later, as opposed to not going. And I mean, I've had that happen, with a very nice lady a few years ago. And she just, something was bothering her. And she, finally after 3, 4, 5, 6 months went to the doctor and found out she had torn something. I forgot to look up the case, but she tore something in her shoulder and required surgery.
Oh man.
But without that initial, made the case tougher, but it still turned out okay. But if you go the next day and you get checked out, you can show that, hey, look, this was here the day after. And it gives you a point of how And we could have had something like, hey, look, it was a small tear. Now it became a big tear.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, absolutely. And you're entitled to be checked out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just common sense. And nowadays, you should be checked out when major accidents and major crashes occur. It's not a small issue. It's a big issue.
What are some of the most common pitfalls people encounter if they try to, deal with the insurance companies on their own? Maybe they don't think their case needs a lawyer. What kind of issues do they find?
Everybody's different and every case is different. If you're the kind of person and you got rear-ended and you don't care, you don't want money, you don't want compensation, you just want to take their offer and you're happy with that, then do it. I mean, nothing's stopping you. You can do that all day long. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're in pain and you want compensation for that, then that's just not the good way to go, because you're not going to be able to maximize your return the way experts are.
Sure.
It's just like any other business. This is a business. I've had people come in all the time and they're just, I don't really care, or I don't want it, or what, 100 different.
This is enough for me, or whatever.
Whatever. Then just go deal with it. But there are other people too who have to know. Like, if you're the person, and now I'm talking to you, the audience. Hey, if you're the kind of person that you don't know if you're getting a good deal or not, or you don't know if you should be getting more, then you need a lawyer, because nobody's going to tell you, and you're not going to be able to ever figure it out without that type of experience,
right?
Without that type of advice. And that's what you'd be paying for. Figure out those kind of things, because and some people, they don't care. I mean, I've talked to friends, it's like, oh yeah, this is what happened, this is what they offered me, and I told them, like, we could have done a lot more, and they just don't care. And that's fine. I'm not going to force you to come in. I'm not going to force you to to get more money. If you don't want it, you don't want to put the work in, I'm not going to force you to. So it depends on the person, the individual. If you're not concerned with money, or you're not concerned with the amount, or you don't care, if all you cared about was getting your car fixed and that's it, then you may not need an attorney, because you're not interested in doing the work, and that's fine. I'm talking to the people though who, they need to know if they're getting a good deal. They need to know if they're getting the most. They need to know if they're being fairly compensated, and that's what you're paying for.
You've mentioned, we've talked multiple times about how crucial it is to document everything related to an injury from the onset. What are the most common things, even if someone does try to get the evidence that they need, what are some of the things that they often overlook?
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in the archives, is not only taking picture of your car, but take pictures of the other guy's car. Mm-hmm. And the cars around them, and the whole area. So you kind of want if it's an intersection, you want pictures of the whole intersection, but you also want pictures of the lanes, but you want their car and you want your car. I've had a lot of times people come in and they'll have 100 pictures of their car. And yeah, your car got totaled. Yeah. Where's the other guy's car? Well, it was across the street. It flew to the other side. Well, did you walk over there and take pictures of that one? Because a lot of times you can match the injury to your car now. So every action requires opposite reaction. So that's a big one. And then forgetting to take pictures of the road, particularly skid marks, where they were. There was one a couple of years ago I had, and there was a skid mark, and they take okay pictures, but they didn't take specifically pictures of the road. We just saw them on pictures that they were taking of the cars, and the skid mark was on the double yellow. Why is the guy driving on the double yellow?
Yeah.
I would have liked better pictures of that. But they did a good job. But that's something that people just fail to forget. And here's the thing too, with your car. I mean, take pictures of. We need pictures of your car where it ended up, but we can always take pictures of your car later. We can always go to the tow yard or go to your house. The other guy's car, we can't. They get to take that home.
Yeah, you don't have any control over it after that.
Right.
Yeah. So we obviously this is not a hot take, but we live in a world where everyone likes to post everything in the world on social media, and I'd imagine that can cause problems in personal injury cases as well. What advice do you give people as far as mistakes that you see when it comes to social media after an accident?
Just be careful of when you do post anything. You probably shouldn't. Ask yourself why you're posting it, because anything you do post can be used against you years down the line.
That's a good question for people in general. Why are you posting this?
Right. I mean, it's one thing to post online to tell people, hey, family, friends who may or may not know, I was in an accident, I'm okay. But even something like that, hey, I'm okay, thank you for your well wishes. Well, guess what a defense attorney is going to say 2 years from now, 3 years from now? You told everybody, you were okay. Why are we here? Yeah. Why are we in court? Now you're trying to tell everybody your neck was broken. So those are things that, yes, you can explain away, but do you even want that to come into evidence? Is that something you even want to argue about? Is that something you want to deal with and explain through interrogatories and in testimony about how you told everybody you were okay? So it's one thing to post online for information. I mean, people do post things like that because, you have lots of friends. People, especially here, a small town,
words getting out that you were in an accident. You want to assure people that you're alive and that you're going to make it and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But just remember, everything you say can and will be used against you later on down the road. And same with if you post pictures. And the other thing is too, is we're open and honest about our case. We don't hide things from the defense. We tell the defense that, try to give them everything we have, but also we're not going to give them an opportunity to try to let them contradict ourselves either. So there's no reason to post your pictures online. There's no reason to give your medical history online, or, and that's the other thing. You can post something online and now you put your medical issue at issue. So I always tell people, I'm not going to tell you not to do. I don't tell you what to do or what not to do. I'm giving you the advice and you can follow it and what's a good idea. And like I said, if you're posting something online about your case, ask yourself why you're doing it. And if it's just for your own ego, find a picture of a kitty and post that instead.
Yeah. Just go back to posting your food.
Post that. Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, everybody wants something like this behind them. If you have a personal injury case, you want it just settled. You want it figured out. But I imagine there's dangers of settling a personal injury case too early without knowing the full extent of injuries or what you could possibly get. What are some of those dangers of settling too early?
Well, yeah, if you don't know what if you don't know what your doctor says and what your future prognosis is, then why would you settle? Because you don't know. Now we try. I mean, once we get your medical records and once your case is ready, I mean, I'm always working not only at trying to get your case out and moved out, but I'm always constantly working on how we can trim the fat and make cases move faster. So that's not an issue, but you're right. You don't want to put your case in jeopardy just for speed. And and the other thing is in California, when you finally do settle, you're signing a piece of paper, and most of the pieces of paper, most of the releases that I've seen or that we have nowadays, bold, cap locked, underline says, you are releasing us from liability in this forever and ever for all injuries known and unknown, which means if you don't know you have an injury and you're releasing us for this, if you're releasing us from liability for this in exchange for money, and tomorrow you find out that something was broken that you didn't know, you can't go back and sue. So why would you try to speed that up? You want to know that when you sign and you're getting compensated, you have all the information in front of you, and that way you don't come 6 months, a year later saying, I should have known, I should have done something.
Yeah, because I think sometimes you could be like, oh, that's a decent amount of money. I wasn't expecting that. Let's go ahead and go with this. This sounds great. And then you don't know how hard you are.
Yeah, and sometimes your case exceeds the policy limits. And what if your case exceeds the policy limits, but now you have a significant injury that's not enough money for you, and maybe we can find some money somewhere else. I mean, you just don't know. But if speed is the name of the game, then we can help you. But again, my job isn't to tell you what to do. My job is to give you the advice, and as long as you're not doing anything unethical or illegal, we'll do everything we can to. It's your case to take your case where you want it to go.
I believe we talked about this in our last episode, but the statute of limitations, is it 2 years? Is that what you had said?
The general rule is 2 years, yes, for personal injury. But there are exceptions, such as government torts, government, when the government injures you, you have 6 months to file a claim. There are exceptions for hospitals, medical malpractice. So there are exceptions. I want you to know that. But the general rule is 2 years, yes. But there are times, too, where people, it comes up. I had a great client several years ago on a slip and fall, and she required surgery. And she needed somebody to come in, and we filed the case for her to preserve the statute of limitations. Again, going back to what we said earlier, she thought this very large company would do what was right and would settle with her. But going back to, they knew that she was going to have surgery, and they didn't want to settle for possible future claims because for their own good. So they just weren't settling. So she came in about a month before the statute of limitations, and we filed it for her. It actually made her more money. So it was good for her too.
It ended up working out.
She ended up getting more money in her pocket than she would have gotten total before it. So, globally. So, she actually got more money in her pocket, even with attorney fees and costs, than she would have gotten if she'd settled before litigation. Yeah.
As we wrap up here, what's the most important piece of advice you would give to someone who's just been injured and is about to begin their personal injury claim to ensure they don't make any of these common mistakes?
Document, get yourself checked out, and seek legal counsel. If you want maximum compensation and you want the other side to pay, you need to seek legal representation as soon as you can.
I think that sounds like great advice. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Moody Lawyer with attorney Josh Moody. To connect with Josh, head to moodylawyer.com and please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review in the comments. Josh, thanks so much for the insight. Always great to talk with you.
Good talking to you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.